Well, you're right then, guys. Here we go with another 5 tomato dishes. I hope there's something here that takes your fancy, but if not, have a look at my playlist, tomato dishes and recipes. There's about 50 different tomato things on there. I think I better start using some of these up, haven't I? Let's get on with it. Okay then, so here we go with tomato and cheese tart made in 2 different ways. The one on the right, nice and simple, perfect for kids to make. The one on the left, a little bit more sophisticated, uses different cheeses and herbs. And all we need for the simple version is some ready rolled puff pastry, some nice fresh tomatoes, I'm using cherry tomatoes, an egg wash, and some soft cheese. And for this one I'm using a herby and garlic soft cheese, but any soft cheese will do. Get your ready-made pastry out of the fridge about 20 minutes before you use it. And the first thing we're going to do is cut the tomatoes and then start to dry them out on a bit of tissue, kitchen roll. You just take some of the moisture out of them. We don't need too many for this. These are sharami. So, all I'm going to do is just put them on the paper a bit. Just soaks up some of that moisture. Stops the tart going all soggy. And this is a quick one, this, for the kids to do, so there's nothing fancy. Right, finished with that. I'll be using some more of those later on. Right, I'm only going to do a little square of this because I want to show you 2 ways of doing it. So let's just do a kid's portion one. There we go. I'll save that for later. Okay, got a baking sheet, we've got some baking paper. And all we do now is we're going to mark about, can you see this? Yeah. Don't score right through, but we're going to mark it about 1/2 inch, like this, around the edges. Rough enough's good enough. Okay, like that. And in the middle, we're going to dock it. Now, if you don't know, docking is making holes through the pastry, and it allows the steam to escape. And make sure you go right through. You don't want the middle of the pastry to rise, really. There you are. It's that simple, guys. Right, I'm using just a herby soft cheese. This is garlic and herb. And again, it's been at the fridge for about 20 minutes. Just, yeah, there, so it's nice and soft, look. And all we're going to do now is put it in the centre. Try to keep it away from the edge, the border you made. This is where I find a palette knife better than a normal knife because you've got an angle on it, look. Can you see that? I've got an angle on it. As much or as little as you want. Ooh. Doesn't matter if you get a bit on the border, you know what I mean? The kids will, won't they? There we are. Okay, put that on the baking tray. Do the rest on the baking tray now. And all we're going to do is put some of these tomatoes. Yeah, see, look, see how wet that is now, look, see? Going to place some of these on. Again, I keep saying it, as many or as few as you want. Nicely overlapping, so that some burn, some take a bit of heat. Ah, I seem to have taken all the all the middles. Oh well. Right, and what we've got for the outside, I'm going to brush it with an egg wash. Now this is a different egg wash to what I normally use. This one is just an egg yolk and milk. There's no, I like this. Well, I say I like it. It's the first time I'm using it, and I like the idea of it. Because there's no stringiness to the washing. So just on the outside. And this is going to go straight in the oven. The oven's been preheating at 220 Celsius. and in the oven for 20-25 minutes, but keep an eye on it as you don't want them to burn. Right, back in a bit. Well, there we are. That was 18 minutes, so looks lovely. And that's a great one for the kids, that is. It's so quick and simple. Now you can do what you want with this. You can put a drizzle of oil on it, you can put some fresh herbs on it, but I'm thinking most kids would just like to eat it like that. And that's what I'm going to do. Oh, we've got a bit of crunch there. It's going to be warm, isn't it? Yeah, well, yeah, can't fault that, guys. Thumbs up for me, that one. Now this is a bit more upmarket, a bit fancier. I'm going to use a bigger piece of puff pastry for this. I do, I reckon, yeah, I only want a small one again anyway. Again, sort of squarish, but as you can see, it's notably bigger. Let's do it on the table. Okay, and all we're going to do with this one is basically the same as the last one, but we're going to fold the edges over. So a little bit of egg wash around the border, just to make it stick. And then we're going to fold those over. You have to work quite fast with this puff pastry. It's say goes off is the wrong word. It's thaws, not thaw. Yeah, you know what I mean. It just gets warm. I say it gets warm very quickly. Yeah, nothing pretty there again, Steve-o. And again, it's a bit small, but you get the gist. Again, dock the centre. Missed that one, didn't I? Egg wash the outsides. And in the oven with it, 220 Celsius, about 10 to 12 minutes, so it just starts to go brown. You don't want to fully cook it because we're going to put it back in the oven again later on. Okay then, so I've got to cool down quick. So that's out the oven. I did have to use a fork to press the insides down a little bit, but you can do that afterwards if you want. And it's much the same really, it's just a bit fancier. So I'm going to put a little bit of mozzarella and cheddar in the middle, just to give it more depth, you know what I mean. A little bit of that. A little bit of this luxurious French sea salt cheese. I like this. See that one? That's quite nice. I have that on crackers quite a lot, so may as well use the rest of that up. And just drop your tomatoes in. I'm going to put them face side up, seed side up, if they don't fall over. We're going for a rustic look here, nothing too fancy. You can put as many as you want on, you know what I mean. And here comes the rain. Right, just straight off the bush. A little bit of basil ripped up. I'll have to get this in the oven pretty quick because it's pouring down. I don't believe it. Pure blue sky over there. It's like April showers. Right, and a sprinkle of my, it's my own Italian herb blend. Just a mix of all the popular herbs and the dried herbs. Right, and another a second dose of egg wash on the outside. Oh, it's raining. It's getting my pastry wet. Oh, I am back in the oven with that, guys. I'll catch you in a bit. I'm going indoors. Oh, dear me. Right, so that again was about 18 minutes in my oven at 220. So let's have a quick taste of this one, eh? More raised up on the outside, look. More of, is it a galette they call it? Certainly more adult, that's for sure. Herbs. Yeah. Oh, flaky as you like. Yeah, quality, both of them. Lovely. Simple one for the kids. Well, I don't know, what's that, 5 minutes to prep, 20 minutes to cook. Bit more detailed one for the adults, but this is for the table, this is for the summer holidays, for something for the kids to do. Okay then, guys, pickled cherry tomatoes. Now, I did a video of this last year. This is a little bit different. There's no garlic, and I'm going to boil the liquor, the brine, before I put it in the jar. So, water, salt, not table salt. It needs to be cooking salt. Table salt's got additives in it to help it pour, and they make things go cloudy. Honey, cherry tomatoes, rosemary. Now, I bought a new rosemary for this one because my rosemary is a bit woody on the leaves. It's a bit funny. Apple cider vinegar. You can use white vinegar. Doesn't really matter because in this video we're gonna boil the vinegar anyway. So let's get the bits away out the way we don't need for the minute, and I'll just show you how do I calculate the amount of liquid to go into this jar of tomatoes. What I'm doing this year, I'm just pickling as I need it. I'm not picking loads of tomatoes and doing it. I'm just picking some as I need them. So what I do, get as many tomatoes as you need. These are all tumbler. Get a jug of water, pour the water into the sterilised jar to the level you want. And there we are. Pour that away. Oh, that's my foot's all wet now. Shit. Then I'm going to carefully pour the water back into the jug and measure it. And it is, well, that is so spooky. 200 ml. 200 ml is the perfect. It's the perfect measure for me because I'll tell you in a second. So 200 ml. So we need a 50-50 brine mix. So 100 ml of water. Does it a bit further away this time so we don't get wet feet. There we are. And 100 ml of apple cider vinegar. You can use, like I said, you can use white vinegar. And for every 200 ml of liquor or brine, you need 1 teaspoon of salt and 1 teaspoon of honey. I'm using honey instead of sugar. I'm going to guess this. 5 ml. Yep, that'll do. Right, I'm just going to poke a hole in the tomato. Every tomato needs a hole poked in it, but some I'm going to put a sprig of rosemary in like that. Last year I did it with stalks, and I don't think the wood of the stalks, the woodiness, helped an awful lot. But they were all right, don't get me wrong, they were tasty. Ain't got to bother with some of them. We're just after the rosemary in the taste, and piercing the tomato as well helps it to preserve. Okay, that's the last few. Getting more aggressive with the knife as the time goes on. Oh dear. There we are then. Right, that's all them in. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to go and boil this, and I will boil it for a couple of minutes just to get some of the water off, and that will raise the acidity from 5, because I know that the apple cider vinegar is 5. Yes, it is 5. Take it up just a little bit. 6 is the ideal acidity level for pickling. I'm not going to do any mention of canning. Canning to me is a very, I don't know, it's an emotive subject. If it goes wrong, it can go wrong big time, so I'm not going to even bother talking about it. Enough to say, though, that if you do can these afterwards, then the tomatoes will boil away and you'll end up with a few tomatoes and loads of liquid. That's why I'm not doing it. So back in a second. Okay then, so that's been boiling for a couple of minutes. It's reduced the volume just a little bit. And if it's a bit low, all you need to do is top up with some more vinegar. There we are. Lid on. And what I'll do now, as it cools down, it will form a decent seal inside. Put a label on. In the fridge now, once it's cooled down. And I'm thinking, now last time I said use it within 6 months. Probably far too long. I'll be using that within 2 months. And because I've got more to come, so I can't see the point of batch making so many that you need to use too quick. So 1 jar at a time with me this time. Tomato and olive focaccia. And this one is a cheats version because I'm going to use a ready mix. So we got the mix, we got some sea salt, a bit of flour for dusting around a bit, tomatoes, cherry tomatoes, extra virgin olive oil and some olives if you want them. I got a bit of rosemary to go on later on, right at the end, and 310 ml of lukewarm water. So I'm going to put these out of the way for now. Get it started. It's drizzly a bit, so it'd be alright. Making bread in the rain, you know. Right, like I say, 310 ml of warm water, lukewarm water. Yeah. That's that finished with, and 2 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil. I'm going to use 6 tablespoons in all, with just 2 to go in the mix to start off with. And mix it all together. Let's get a knife out of the way. Do myself an injury. Start off with a spoon. Oh, this is rosemary and garlic bread mix from Wright's. I've not tried it before, so it was the first for me. This, like I said, just saves all the messing about, doesn't it? Thing with focaccia is it's a sticky mix. Don't get tempted to add more flour to it, just let it do its own thing. And all we're doing now, we're just mixing it all together, and if it was proper bread, you'd be what they call hydrolyzing or hydrating the flour, just to get the water into the flour. That's all you're doing with the first part of bread making. Well, that's pretty well done now. I'm not going to bother with the rest of the bits in there. Got a shaggy dough going on. So what we'll do now, we're going to leave that on the surface. A little bit of flour. This is clean, by the way. Just a little bit there. Stop it sticking, that's what that's for. What you do then is just cover it with a tea towel and leave it for 5 minutes. So, well, that's been 5 minutes. So what I do now, and it's been spitting with rain, as you can see here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to drizzle some oil in that tin, ready for the dough in a minute. About a tablespoon. Is that what we got? Good dough store there. Right, so what we do now, we're just going to work it for 5 minutes, 2 to 5 minutes, and already that's all come together. Look, that's good. Just going to give it a bit of a kneading. It's not one of these ones that needs a lot of kneading, and this is why it's an easy one to make, really. So push and turn, push and fold, push and fold, push and fold. You do it however you want, really, because everyone's got their own technique. Some are better than others, actually. Some ways of doing it create a different structure to others. But what you're trying to do is get the gluten to form a little bit. If you have the surface too floury, the bread skids over it. This is why I like this stainless steel sheet, because the dough sticks to it. See that? And you can push it. Put it from the side, do you? See it sort of sticks a little bit and stretches. Whereas if it was all on flour, gone like. I reckon, you know, that's over 2 minutes and less than 5, isn't it? So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to put it in the tin, sort of stretch it out a bit, roughly. We're not going to do the final shaping just yet. I want to get it somewhere a bit close, you know. And it said it recommends to put it in a warm tin, but you know, it's not cold, put it that way. So, sort of oblong-ish, rectangular-ish. There we go. And I'm going to cover that and then just let it rest again for 10 minutes. Oh, back in 10 minutes. Okay, that's been 10 minutes. All it's doing is just resting, letting the dough rest yet again. So what we do now is going to push it outwards to fill the tin, really. And then we're going to put it in a warm place to rise. Now you could put it in your proving box if you made one like I did, but I've just got the oven set on 40 degrees, that'll do for me. There we are, let's have a go at that then. So in your warm place, either your proving box or your low oven, 15 minutes or so, to keep an eye on it, we'll just have it rise just that little bit. Here we go now then, with your fingers, we're just going to press down about halfway through the dough. Make some dimples in it like this. Oh, lovely, spongy, look at that. You go a bit deeper if you want. And then we're going to drizzle on about, guesswork, 2 tablespoons of olive oil. Doesn't matter where it goes. And I am going to give it a little bit of a rubbing in as well, over the surface just to coat it a bit. And then just going to put some tomatoes. I have got far too many. I didn't think I'd thought I would have. Now you can put them in the holes or not in the holes. It's up to you. Put them at a funny angle. Put them right way up. And we just poke a couple of sprigs of rosemary in. And that's going to go back in for another rise now, for another 15-20 minutes. And then I'll just show you what it looks like and then we'll bake it. Well, there we are, another 20 minute sort of rise. Dimples are still there, just. I'm going to sprinkle a little bit of salt on top. You don't need to do this if you don't like using salt. Just about a teaspoonful in it. Right, 220 degrees Celsius, 20 minutes. Keep an eye on it. And, well, back in a bit. Well, here we go, guys. Remember, Steve, the tin's hot. Yeah. Looks all right, doesn't it? Well, you know what I'm going to say now. Got to taste it. Carefully. Can be too hot for me. And tomatoes are falling off all over the place. I'm liking that. I would say quick, it's not overly quick, but it's certainly quicker than a traditional focaccia. So it's a cheats quick focaccia with tomatoes and a few olives. Yeah. Okay guys, a nice soup for you, and this can be as simple or as complicated as you want. Mine's going to be simple. It is Pappa al Pomodoro, Italian tomato and bread soup from the Tuscany region of Italy. Very nice. I'm going to make it simple. It's another one of those ones where every Italian family's got their own version, you know. Mine's a simple version. Like I said, every family's got their own version of this, but I'm just going to use tomatoes, stale bread, and if you've got it, some sort of Italian bread like ciabatta. I'm using a couple of little ciabattas in my own loaf, which is 3 days old. Garlic clove, some water, olive oil, and basil. And these are optional: sugar, salt, pepper, and tomato puree, just in case some of the eating tomatoes aren't quite strong enough for the soup, you know what I mean? So we need to skin the tomatoes. I'll show you me doing one, I'll do the rest, and then we get back to the cooking. You'd normally do this on the stove top with boiling water, but I'm outdoors. So get your tomato, and what I do, make a little cross in the bottom, only a little one, don't go too deep. And what I do, I put it in a sieve, dunk it in. Big tomatoes a minute, small tomatoes 30 seconds, and just wait, and wait, and wait. You can actually see the skin coming off now. Okay, scoop it out. This is what the sieve's for, look. Oop. See that you can see the skin coming off already. Into the cold water, stop it cooking. Let it cool down a bit. Let's put it out of the way. Oh, it's hot. And where you've scored it, the skin should come off dead easy. There we are. I need a rubbish one, don't I? Forgot that. And what's good, if you leave the stalk on, when you get to the end like this, you can put it all up like that and just cut the end of the tomato off. So there we are. All we do now is cut the tomatoes into quarters and we'll start cooking them. So I'll get myself another bowl, do the rest and come back to you. Sorry, laughing at myself. That is not a clean job, that, no matter how careful you are. What we want now, garlic then. Thinly sliced for this one, so I'm just going to take the ends off. If you're careful when you cut through, you can use it to peel the skin off that. Don't go right through, leave it on a little bit. Thought I'd cut myself there, tomato pip. There we are. There's loads of ways of doing this, rattling them round inside a jar and things like that. But for one clove, it don't really matter, does it? Right, thinly slice these. So. Side, I'll put that over here, ready for put it in the sieve actually. Right then, a couple of tablespoons of olive oil. And all we're going to do now is cook the garlic through. So, okay, as soon as it's about to start going brown, which is about now, in with the tomatoes. Oh. And all we're going to do now is just cook these down for 20-30 minutes, get them really hot, let them start boiling, and then simmer them. Like I say, 20-30 minutes uncovered. We want to get some of the liquid out of them. And there we are, it's reduced quite a lot in the first 5 minutes. Nice and squidgy. Okay, nearly there. Another 5 minutes, and that'll be perfect. Okay, then that'll do. Nicely reduced. Now, what we're going to do is going to sound totally stupid, but we got all this trouble to get the water out, and we're going to put some back in. About 200 ml. And we're going to get it boiling pretty quickly. You can add boiling water if you want. But these induction hobs, they heat up so quickly, there's no need to. Now this is the time to taste test. There we are, see it's boiling already. This is the time to taste test your soup. Too sweet, too salty, too not enough sugar, whatever. Oh look, a spoon. That is tomatoey, that'll do for me. You could enrich it with a bit of puree, as I said, make it sweeter, whatever. I'm not even going to put any pepper in, and you know me, I like my pepper. So let's have a few more leaves. These go in a minute, we're not putting them in just yet, but I'm getting them ready. Oh, that'll do. Basil can be a bit overpowering, and I'll tell you what, you know, one leaf goes a long way. So, what we do now is, we've got the stale ciabatta, it's sort of stale. You can cut the crusts off if you want, I'm not going to bother. Just going to break it into chunks and chuck it in. As big or as small as you like, really. And what we're after is the bread to soak up the liquid. So, I'm going to leave it cooking for a bit. We'll see how we get on, and if there's not enough ciabatta, then I'll use my own bread. If it does get too thick and you put too much bread in, just put a bit more boiling water in. Okay, that's it with the bread in. You can see how much is soaked up already. So we'll leave that for a bit, decide if I need to put any more water in. And then it's in with the basil and more oil. So that's it for me, I reckon. That looks pretty good. I don't want it to be too runny, I don't want it to be too lumpy. Somewhere in between. So off the heat now for about 10 minutes. Let it cool just a little bit, and then in with the basil and the rest of the oil. Okay then, so that's about 10 minutes. It's cooled down quite considerably. Didn't need any of these, didn't need any sugar, salt, pepper or tomato puree. Sorry, crusty loaf, I've got to save you for another day. So now it's in with the basil. I'm going to save the sprigs for dressing. A few of them anyway. There's only me in there. So I'll just save that little one there. Tear them up, releases a bit more flavour. Like I said, I don't want too much basil, so stir those in. Now these don't go in during the cooking, look, because they're the added extras, you know. See, it's cooled down quite a lot now. And in with the rest of the extra virgin olive oil. For me, a couple of tablespoons. For the serving of 4, a lot more. That's in the description below. So, and again, give it a good stir in. That'll do for me. Give it a good stir in. Let the bread soak up the flavours again. Give it a couple of minutes, and we'll dish it up. I'll tell you what, I want to dive in now. A lot of fuss about getting the skins off the tomatoes. If you really need all the skins off and you leave a little bit on, when you're boiling them down, you'll see it almost float in there, and you can pick it out anyway. So, yeah, whatever. Right, there we are, guys. That's me. Let's get my bowl, dish it up. Oh, and do the old taste test, eh? Look at that. That is a thick soup. Need to get a photograph of this. So a sprig of basil on top. Oh, very decorative. Yeah. Well, let's do it, guys. Looks the business, doesn't it? What can I say? Tomato, bread, basil. It's lovely, it's lovely. That is a great one. Great way to use up the tomatoes. Great way to use up leftover stale bread. I'll tell you what, I'm saving the rest of that for the supper. Well, I hope you've enjoyed the 5 latest recipes, guys. Nice, simple ones. Like I said, there's plenty more in my the playlist. Was it tomato dishes and recipes? Now this, I've been stewing this overnight in the slow cooker. Another batch of tomato sauce. That's got to be the 4th one this year. This one is tomato and chilli, and it's been going for 24 hours now in the slow cooker on low. And yeah, hang on, let's have a. And that chilli's coming through quite well. I'm going to get out of this top before I stick it in the punnets for freezing. So look after yourselves, take care, and I'll catch you on the next video.